All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
You know, we always start with a stack of source material,
Oh, yeah.
and today we're diving into To Kill a Mockingbird, those excerpts you sent over.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it'll be really interesting for us to kind of get into
Yeah.
the world of Macomb, Alabama,
Scout Finch's world.
Scout Finch's world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking small town life in the 1930s South.
Right.
So much to uncover here. Family histories,
Mm-hmm.
social dynamics, justice, prejudice, just to name a few.
Yeah, it's amazing how Harper Lee uses a child's perspective to explore those really weighty themes.
Yeah,
Scout's voice is so innocent, and yet she picks up on things that adults often miss.
absolutely. And speaking of adults, let's start with the heart of the story,
Okay.
the Finch family.
Yeah.
We've got Atticus, the lawyer, and single dad raising Scott and Jem.
Right.
What jumps out at you about their family dynamic?
Well, it's not the idyllic Southern family portrait you might expect.
Right.
You have to remember their ancestor Simon Finch and the shadow he casts over the family. I mean, he built his fortune on a plantation on the backs of enslaved people.
Yeah.
And that shift from plantation wealth to Atticus's more modest life as a professional in Macomb really says a lot about the South's changing social landscape.
So it's like their family history kind of mirrors the South's own struggle with its past.
Exactly. And within that family, you have Atticus trying to instill a sense of justice and equality in his children,
Yeah.
while his sister Alexandra fiercely clings to the old ways, the old hierarchies.
It's almost as if she represents the very traditions that Atticus is trying to challenge.
Precisely. She's constantly reminding Scout to act like a lady and uphold the Finch family name. But Atticus is more concerned with teaching his children to judge people by their character, not their social standing.
Which, pretty revolutionary for the time, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's this tension between tradition and progress that makes their family dynamic so compelling.
Yeah, and it's all playing out against the backdrop of Macomb, Alabama.
Right.
From the excerpts, you get this sense of this tired old town
Mhm.
where life moves at a slower pace.
It's almost like time itself is a character in the story.
I love that.
You can practically hear the cicadas buzz in on those hot summer days,
Right.
feel the dust settle in on the streets.
And everybody knows everybody else's business.
Right.
Atticus seems to be related to half the town.
Which is a great way for Lee to weave in that sense of interconnectedness that everyone is somehow touched by the events of the story.
Yeah.
But within this close-knit community, there's this air of mystery surrounding the Radley place.
Oh, absolutely. It's like this ominous presence just looming over the town.
Right.
And Boo Radley, the recluse who lives there, he's almost like a local legend.
He embodies the power of fear and how it can distort reality.
Hmm.
All those rumors and whispers circulating about him, pecans that'll kill you, ghost-like presence.
Right.
It's as if the town has created this monster in their minds.
Yeah, and the kids, Scout Jim and their friend Dill, they're both terrified and fascinated by him.
Yeah.
Their attempts to lure him out are equal parts creepy and endearing.
It's classic childhood curiosity, that urge to test boundaries and confront the unknown. But it also speaks to a deeper need, a longing for connection, even with someone as seemingly different and isolated as Boo.
Which makes you wonder, is Boo really the monster they imagine him to be?
That's the question Lee wants us to grapple with.
Yeah.
She challenges us to look beyond the surface, beyond the rumors and prejudices, and see the humanity in everyone, even the most ostracized.
And this theme of prejudice is further explored through Scout's experiences in school.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about a clash of cultures.
It's a stark contrast between the rigid formal education she receives in the classroom and the more informal life lessons she learns at home.
Yeah.
Her first grade teacher, Miss Caroline, is well-meaning but completely out of touch with the realities of Macomb.
Remember that incident with Walter Cunningham's lunch?
Oh, absolutely.
That was a real eye-opener for Scout and for us as readers about the stark socioeconomic divides in Macomb.
Exactly. You have the Cunninghams, proud but impoverished farmers struggling to make ends meet during the Depression.
Right. Then you have the Ewells living in squalor and representing the underbelly of Macomb's social hierarchy.
And it's Atticus who tries to bridge that gap, explaining to Scout that everyone, even professionals like himself, is feeling the effects of the Depression.
He's teaching her empathy, the ability to see the world through others' eyes, regardless of their social status.
Right.
But it's a lesson that clashes with the prevailing prejudices of the town.
And nowhere is this clash more evident than in the upcoming trial of Tom Robinson, a black man falsely accused of raping Mayella Ewell.
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
The trial becomes a microcosm of Maycomb's deep-seated racial prejudice and the struggle for justice in a society where the scales are tipped against the marginalized.
And we're seeing all of this unfold through Scout's eyes.
Right.
Her innocent perspective, providing a fresh and often unsettling look at the adult world. But that's a conversation for the next part of our deep dive. Stay with us.
Okay, we're back, and things are about to get real heavy in Maycomb.
Yeah.
It's like a shift happens in the story as we move away from childhood games and trying to figure out Boo Radley.
Yeah, you could say that the shadow of the Tom Robinson trial kind of looms over everything now,
Yeah.
forcing the children and us as readers to confront the harsh reality of racial injustice in the 1930s South.
Yeah, like the innocence of those early chapters is starting to fade, and we're entering this more complex and unsettling world.
Right, and in this world, those social hierarchies of Maycomb become even more prominent.
Yeah.
We see this through Anne Alexandra's arrival and her obsession with gentle breeding.
Yeah, she's really hung up on the Finch family name and its supposed importance, isn't she?
Absolutely. I mean, she represents this deeply ingrained aspect of Southern culture where lineage and social stand-in are everything.
Right.
It's like she's trying to mold Scout into this proper Southern lady, constantly reminding her to act accordingly and uphold the family's reputation.
But that clashes so dramatically with Atticus's more progressive values.
Right.
He's not concerned with appearances or social status.
Exactly. Remember when Alexandra forbids Scout from inviting Walter Cunningham over?
Oh, yeah.
It's this powerful moment that highlights the clash between Atticus's belief in equality and Alexandra's adherence to that old social order.
And isn't it interesting how Scout,
Hmm.
in her youthful naivete,
Yeah.
doesn't fully grasp the implications of those social divisions?
She's still learning, observing the adult world with this mix of curiosity and confusion.
Right.
But the trial of Tom Robinson is going to force her to confront those divisions head on.
The trial really becomes this turning point in the story, doesn't it?
It does. It exposes the raw underbelly of Maycomb's prejudice and the way racial bias can just warp the justice system.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to witness the trial unfold and see how the evidence is twisted and how Tom's testimony is just disregarded simply because he's a black man in a society dominated by white supremacy.
Yeah, and for Scout and Jim, it's a crushing blow.
Right.
Their faith in the justice system and the idea of fairness and equality is just shattered.
But even in the face of such blatant injustice, Atticus doesn't waver.
Yeah.
He continues to fight for Tom, knowing he's unlikely to win, but determined to do what's right.
That's what makes him such a compelling character.
Yeah.
He embodies this kind of moral courage that's both inspiring and tragic. I mean,
Right.
he's not a superhero. He's a flawed human being operating within a deeply flawed system, but he never compromises his principles.
He even has that conversation with Jem after the verdict, trying to explain the complexities of the situation,
Right.
reminding him that sometimes you have to fight even when you know you're going to lose.
It's a powerful lesson about resilience and the importance of standing up for what's right, even when it's unpopular.
So what about the other adults? How do they react to the trial and its aftermath?
Will, you have Miss Maudie,
Right.
who represents a more nuanced perspective. I mean, she acknowledges the flaws of the town,
Yeah.
but she still believes in the inherent goodness of its people.
Right.
She's a voice of reason and hope, offering support to Atticus and the children during a dark time.
Yeah. I love that scene where she bakes the children a cake after the verdict.
Yes.
It's such a simple act of kindness,
Yeah.
but it speaks volumes about her character and her unwavering faith in humanity.
Exactly. And then you have Dolphus Raymond, such a fascinating character who chooses to live on the fringes of society.
Right.
He deliberately cultivates this reputation as a drunkard to give the white community a reason for his unconventional relationship with a black woman.
Yeah, remember that scene where he offers Dill a sip from his paper bag?
Yeah.
And it turns out to be Coca-Cola?
It's brilliant the way Lee exposes the hypocrisy and the absurdity of the town's social codes.
Yeah.
I mean, Dolphus understands that people need an explanation, a way to justify their prejudices.
Right.
He's playing a role, but it's a role that allows him to live a more authentic life, even if it means being ostracized.
It's a subtle but powerful commentary on the pressures to conform and the complexities of navigating a society riddled with prejudice.
Precisely. And while the trial brings out the worst in some people, like Bob Ewell, who becomes increasingly menacing in his threats towards Atticus and his family, it also reveals the quiet strength and solidarity of the black community.
Yeah, remember how they bring food to Atticus's doorstep after the verdict?
Oh, yeah.
A silent gesture of gratitude and respect for his willingness to defend Tom Robinson.
It's beautiful. It speaks to the power of human connection and compassion, even in the face of overwhelming adversity.
It's like this small flicker of hope amidst the darkness.
Yeah. But as we move into the final part of the story, that darkness starts to close in, and the consequences of Macomb's deeply ingrained prejudices become even more apparent.
Yeah, that sense of dread really starts to build. You just know something terrible is going to happen. Okay, we're back. And, that feeling of unease we talked about,
Yeah.
it kind of explodes in this last part. Bob Ewell, he's not just making threats anymore.
No, the trial and the verdict, they've unleashed something dark in him. His hatred for Atticus and by extension Scout and Jem, it just intensifies.
Well,
it's like this simmering pot that's finally boiling over.
There's that chilling scene where Miss Stephanie gossips about Ewell spitting on Atticus.
Right.
And vowing to get revenge. It's clear he's a man driven by vengeance and this twisted sense of justice.
And what's striking is how the town, to some extent, enables Ewell's behavior.
Right.
They might gossip about him, but they also dismiss him as this harmless drunk.
Yeah.
Yet his word is taken more seriously than Tom Robinson's solely due to race.
It's a painful reminder that prejudice creates these dangerous blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
People in power, even in a small town like Macomb, often choose to see what's convenient.
Right.
What upholds the existing social order rather than facing uncomfortable truths.
Exactly. And that allows someone like Ewell to operate with this sense of impunity.
Yeah.
He feels justified in his actions, believing that he's been wronged, and the town's ingrained prejudices just validate his rage.
And then Halloween night arrives.
Right.
Scout and Jem, in their clumsy costumes, walking home in the darkness after the school pageant.
Yeah.
It's almost Shakespearean the way Lee sets the stage for this tragic confrontation.
The vulnerability of the children, the isolation of the set, and the darkness that both conceals and foreshadows the violence to come.
Yeah.
It creates this incredible sense of suspense and dread.
And the attack itself described so vividly through Scout's limited perspective.
Right.
It's terrifying. She's trapped inside her costume, unable to see clearly, only hearing the struggle, feeling the blows.
It's just pure chaos and terror, heightened by the fact that Jem, her protector, is also injured.
Right.
It underscores the vulnerability of innocence when faced with this blind hatred.
And then out of the darkness emerges Boo Radley.
Yeah.
This figure shrouded in mystery and fear throughout the novel becomes their unlikely savior. It's almost poetic, wouldn't you say?
It's a brilliant twist by Lee.
Yeah.
The person Macomb has ostracized, the one they've labeled as a monster, turns out to be the one who embodies true compassion and courage.
And the way he acts silently, instinctively, without hesitation,
Right.
adds to the power of the moment.
It forces us to confront our own prejudices.
Yeah.
Our tendency to judge based on appearances or rumors.
Right.
Boo, in his silence, challenges those preconceived notions and reveals the true meaning of heroism.
And then the aftermath, Ewell is dead.
Yeah.
And Sheriff Tate, in a controversial move, decides to cover up the truth,
Right.
claiming that Ewell fell on his own knife.
It's this fascinating ethical dilemma.
Yeah.
On the one hand, he's protecting Boo, this vulnerable individual who wouldn't fare well under the scrutiny of a trial.
Right.
On the other hand, he's bending the law, obscuring the truth.
But within the context of Macomb, where justice is often skewed by racial and social biases,
Yeah.
Tate's decision makes a different kind of sense.
Exactly. It's a recognition that sometimes true justice lies in protecting the innocent, even if it means compromising legal procedures. It's a decision born out of compassion and an understanding of the complexities of human nature.
And then we have that final beautiful scene where Scout walks Boo home,
Yeah.
seeing the world from his perspective for the first time.
It's a moment of profound empathy and growth for Scout.
Yeah.
She finally sheds her childhood fears and prejudices, recognizing Boo's humanity, his inherent goodness.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the power of understanding and connection.
And as she stands on Boo's porch, looking out at the world that he's observed for so long, it's as if she's seeing Macomb, and maybe even herself with new eyes.
It's a powerful ending that leaves us with this sense of hope,
Yeah.
suggesting that even in a world marred by injustice and prejudice,
Right.
compassion and understanding can prevail.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that growth and change are possible even in the most challenging of circumstances.
So as we close this deep dive into To Kill a Mockingbird, what resonates with you the most? What lingering question, what echo of Scout's journey stays with you?
For me, it's the idea that Macomb itself is this microcosm of the human experience, you know? It's a place where darkness and light coexist, where prejudice and compassion wrestle for dominance.
Right.
And ultimately, it's a story that compels us to confront our own biases,
Yeah.
to seek understanding beyond the surface, and to strive for a world where justice and empathy prevail.
Beautifully put. And for you, dear listener, what whispers of childhood observation of the gap between ideals and reality linger in your mind? We encourage you to revisit the full text of To Kill a Mockingbird and let its lessons resonate with your own experiences. Thanks for joining us.